Hi, I'm Sharon.
And I'm Keith.
And welcome to Reels Across the World.
This is our little video, the first of two, about our trip to Galapagos, and this is the one you want to watch if you want to find out about the logistics, the bureaucracy, and how to get to Galapagos on a budget.
So although we booked our flights and we booked Airbnbs, we then realised we had to do some forms. I think you're supposed to do them a whole week ahead. I don't think we had a week ahead, but we managed to get it anyway. But things have changed since May 2025. We went in March. I think you now have to pay $20 to do this form. It's the TCT form, and the link is below. I did use, there's a very good Facebook group called We Love Galapagos, and there's a website also called thinkgalapagos.com, which is also a useful reference before you go. Anyway, we filled out the forms. Because we booked Airbnbs, we had to say we were staying with a friend, and that is the host's name. You also have to have their ID, but the Airbnb hosts all know that's what you're going to ask for.
It's like their national identification number that you need to put into the form to show that to show the individual that you're staying with.
Yeah. So once you've done that a week ahead, that's the main thing done before you even leave to go to the airport. We booked 3 flights with LATAM from La Paz, Lima, Guayaquil, San Cristobal.
Yeah, and we chose to fly into San Cristobal because the transfer from the airport, we felt like we were going to do 3 flights. We were going to be pretty knackered by the time we got there. So we chose to fly into San Cristobal, which is very close to the main town on the island. So it was very easy to transfer.
Yeah, a lot of accommodation is walkable, which is we didn't, but is very easy to walk if it wasn't so warm and luggage.
But our first challenge was to get to the airport in La Paz. We booked a taxi through our Airbnb host in La Paz. You get to the airport and you check in, but then before you can get through the departure gate, you actually need to have completed a form to exit Bolivia.
We were leaving from Bolivia. I don't know if that's the same everywhere.
So and although they had these forms on the check-in gate, they didn't actually hand them out. So we had to go back, get that, fill that in before we could get through to the departure lounge in La Paz. So we were then on our way. A little stop in the lounge, and then got the flight. The flight took us through to Lima, and in Lima, what we knew we had to do was get a lot of dollars. You have to pay in cash $200 each for the entry tax for the national park in Galapagos. You have to pay $20 each for the baggage check process, and you also need enough dollars to be able to pay for things on the island when you get there. So there are ATMs on the island. It wasn't too hard getting dollars, but we were a bit worried about being able to do that. So you needed a lot of dollars. La Paz didn't have any dollars available. We couldn't find them anywhere. So we basically ran around Lima airports.
We found 3 different banks
in Lima. So we're basically running around going caja automática, basically trying to get dollars. We managed to get our dollars. We managed to get a little bit of time in the airport lounge,
and test out the Peruvian pisco sours.
Yes, it's quite nice.
It was
quite a nice little lounge. And then we got the flight from Lima. We got the flight to Guayaquil. Guayaquil, that was where the fun really started. What we knew was we had very little time to do the transfer.
Smidge under 2 hours if we landed on time, and we landed just a little bit late. Always takes a while to get through. Yeah. Our luggage did go through at Lima airport, so at least it was the first time we needed to get the luggage. But of course, in order to get your luggage, you need to go through immigration.
And it's a big long line.
I was completely prepared for.
Yeah, well, we knew we had very limited time. Sharon had read about the fact on the Facebook group that you really needed at least 3 hours, and we knew we only had 2. So we basically prepared ourselves to basically push past any queue that we found. Sharon was primed and ready to go to push past any crowds, and she ran through the crowd going, I'm going to Galapagos, please excuse me. She pushed her way through, and I followed on behind, apologising for my wife, and
it's easy when you're 4'10". But we did actually meet some other people while we were in Lima, didn't we? And we all worked out we were all going to have to do this mad dash.
Yeah.
And they've been told they could actually just go to the queue at the end, is for that. But we didn't know that. And we got there at the same time, so my pushing did pay off.
Yeah.
And they do let you through a little bit. The queue wasn't as big, but be prepared for 20 questions. So we had to prove
well all the places we were staying in Ecuador. We had to prove our flights to and from Galapagos. So we had to have quite a lot of.
Yes, you have to have a return flight.
Yeah.
Out one of the, it doesn't matter which island, but as long as there's one out of the islands.
Yeah.
So and you have to go back through Ecuador, because you have to go back through Ecuador. That's the way the flights work.
So we'd gone through our 20 questions. We got through immigration. We then had to go and pick up our bags in Guayaquil. You'll then leave international arrivals. You have to leave the international arrivals and go upstairs a floor to the local departures. So you're then going up to a different floor in the airport, and you then start the process of trying to check in. Which before you can check into your flight to Galapagos, you need to get your bags checked. You need to complete another form.
It's the biodiversity something or other form.
Yeah, so basically to say that you're not saying that you're not bringing anything inappropriate into
Seeds,
the Galapagos.
Fruits, anything that
so you complete that form. Your bags then have to be scanned and checked.
That is another $20 in cash to get that one done as well.
Yeah, that's right. So you then have your bags scanned and checked, and they're then sealed with plastic tags so that they're then sealed, and only then are you ready to check in. Luckily, LATAM's check-in desk is right beside the place where they do the scanning, but we did it absolutely as fast as it was humanly possible, I think. And we arrived at the check-in desk, at the LATAM check-in desk, and they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, the flight's just closed," and we wailed and went, "Whoa, we've just rushed through."
I just argued, "We're on a through flight, this cannot be acceptable." And she said, "Oh, you're on through flight." Actually, there was no reason at all. And she said, "We'll put them on the trolley." And it went through. We still had about 20 minutes before we even could board, but they can get a bit funny about...
yes. And we were definitely,
it was definitely had we not been on that through flight.
Yeah, but definitely about as late as we could have been, I think, to have been able to check in. And in fact, we met people on Galapagos when we got there who had, we met a couple who had watched us pushing through the crowd.
Why are they in such a hurry?
They were actually supposed to be on our flight, but they missed it. And we met other people who had missed their flights as a result of this bureaucracy
a few days
Guayaquil.
Previously.
And had to basically book themselves onto a flight 3 or 4 days later. So really, really, if you're gonna have a 2 hour stopover in
if
Guayaquil,
you can't show evidence that you've really been trying to it, I think, because that second couple we met, they didn't even not only would they not they didn't realise they had to redo everything. They had to pay for their new flight, which is expensive because
really expensive. So absolutely critical that you understand that what you have to do to get through Guayaquil, because Guayaquil was not easy. It was pretty stressful, and it was
easy to be caught out.
So
be warned.
So be warned, and make sure you really push yourself through those crowds at Guayaquil. We just made it. We got to the got to our flight, and we had our air tags on our luggage, so we're tracking to see whether or not our luggage actually was with us. So we were actually really, really relieved when we got on the flight and knew that all of our baggage was somewhere pretty close by. So I think that was probably the most important tips.
Once we got into San Cristobal, as we said, the airport's very close, but you still have to get through, have to be in, and that's when you pay your $200 in cash each.
Yeah. I think it is. They suggest that you can do card payments, but I think the internet is pretty patchy,
They don't suggest you do it.
So
There was a huge queue behind us as well, so if it hadn't have worked, people. I mean, it's
yeah,
just.
I think it's
just
I
want
think
your
it's very
cash.
difficult to get through. So I would definitely recommend taking cash. And if you do read something that says that you can pay with a credit card, I would I would
let us know.
discount
Comments
that.
below. We'd like to know if it is possible. I mean, obviously the world's changing and getting a bit more credit, but
we think it was probably the better way to go was to have the cash. We got through. They just lay your bags out in the middle of the airport, and you go and pick up your bags, and then walk through to they have pickup truck taxis that you can get just outside the airport.
but
And
yeah,
there's like
you
a
could.
10-minute ride. We could have walked. I think maybe not with all our bags, but you could have walked from the airport into town, and we actually did that walk the other way around.
Yeah, without a lot of luggage, it'll be fine.
And we walked into our Airbnb, which was £106 for the 3 nights in San Cristobal.
It was. Yeah. So not the most salubrious Airbnb, but a good location, good clean bed, sort of everything you needed. They do give you filter water there as well, so you have your own little tap thing. We had in both of our apartments, and if it runs out, the host will just come and change it for you. Yes, we did 3 nights there, which was when we booked. Our host suggested how to do the Kicker Rock 360 tour. That's the most popular one there, and we had a few days doing other things.
One of the things that that was great to know was you can book all of the trips when you're there. You don't have to pre-book your trip. So we did the 360 tour around San Cristobal.
Yeah, we got a few dollars off from using the Airbnb's recommendation, though, didn't we? And you can borrow all the snorkel gear there.
Yeah. Although don't lose it, because apparently when you lose a mask, you pay a lot. Only one of us accidentally dropped their mask.
Yeah, that's another story. And at Santa Cruz, we paid £164 English pounds for 5 nights. So it's really, really good value.
Yeah.
Accommodation. We'll share some links on those. But yeah, that was mainly what we wanted to say in this video. More not really about the. Yeah, I mean, when you arrive, actually, it's a very small place, San Cristobal, so it's all on that coast, and it's everything you imagine, with all the sea lions, some beaches. We did see some lizards.
Yeah.
I think we saw most things on our trip, to be fair. We can put some pictures and
we'll talk about that in the next video. What we'll try and do in the next video is just give you a bit of an idea of what to do on
the
the
LATAM
island.
flights, by the way, were £900 for both of us in pounds, which I still think was quite expensive, even from Bolivia, but they're a lot more money. But you definitely can save money doing a land trip and not a last minute. Even a last minute cruise was looking at, it depends how many days we did, but you can easily still, even last minute, we could have easily paid £600.
And we just could not find the trip that we really wanted to go on at a price that we thought was kind of reasonable.
Yeah, and that's just with a week to go.
Yeah, and I think going on land is a really good option. You get to do the tours, etc. You probably don't see quite as much of Galapagos as you would if you were on one of the sailing boats. But I still think we had
saw the main things that we really
an
wanted
amazing
to
time,
do.
and we did some great trips, and we saw some amazing wildlife.
Yeah.
And it's a once in a lifetime bucket list location.
And we did do a trip to
it.
Isabella, which I'll talk about in the next. But we did it as a day trip, so we didn't have to lug our luggage around any longer. Bear in mind we were on a 4-month trip.
Yeah.
So we recommend it. It didn't cost that much more money than to extend and add that part to it. But yeah, definitely.
So
recommend land boats.
And
so
look
we'll
out
talk
for
about the tours and the things that happened and where we stayed and everything in the next video. In the meantime, like and subscribe. It's all free, and we'll hopefully see you in the next video with some more tips and how we enjoyed the Galapagos.